So I'm working on the Impala again today, and just pulling the differential cover off, and I got the bolts all off. I'm just trying to get the cover off here and drain out the rear end, see what it looks like on the inside, maybe see what the gearing is on the inside anymore, and see if there's any wear on the ring gear and pinion shaft. Draining out the oil, so I'm just going to let this here drain for a little bit into my pan, and then once that's all drained out, I'll pull the cover off the rest of the way. Get rid of this silicone seal. I got a gasket from O'Reilly's. I'll put that on, and hopefully I'll be able to just close it back up without any issues on the inside. So I grabbed the differential cover off here and was looking at the rear gears. The gears seem good all the way around. Doesn't look, I don't see any chips or anything in them anywhere. And then I was looking at the code on it here. I don't know if you can read that. You see there's an 1137, 1165. So what that means, I'm not sure what the first and the last numbers mean, but the 37 and 11, basically you take your 37 divided by 11, that's going to be your rear gear ratio. So for me, what that gives me is a 336 rear end. I honestly expected it to be somewhere in the 2s with more of a highway gear ratio. This is kind of a faster, maybe not a faster, but a more accelerated rear end. It's non-posi. I wish it was. That'd be kind of cool, but at least it's a 336, so I think I'm just going to run it for now. The pinion shaft bearing seems pretty good. The carrier doesn't seem loose at all. It seems like it was put together right how it should be, so I'm just going to put the new seal on and refill it with gear oil. Maybe I'll do the wheel bearings, wheel seals while I have it apart yet. But for the time being, I think this is going to work for me. So I always like looking at nice irregularities, and seem to find a lot of these on this Impala here. But what I was looking at, I was just about to start scraping the gasket material off to put a new gasket on. And so when I was taking it apart, there was a silicone layer on here, and there's this gasket that's sitting on the actual housing. And when I went and looked at the cover, there's a gasket on there too. So what this has on it is, it's actually, there was a gasket, a layer of silicone in between, and another gasket before we got to the covers. So I'm cleaning this gasket material off. I already did the cover, and I'm working on the housing here, but I didn't want to take the ring gear out, and so I put this shop towel over top of that, so that when I'm scraping on the top side, then I don't have anything to worry about as far as material falling down into the housing here and getting that all dirty. So just trying to keep everything clean and free of debris so that I can just put the gasket right back on and then put the cover on without any issues. Okay, so I got my gear oil pumped back into my differential here, and I always fill it up so that when I am pumping it into the fill hole right here, once it starts running back out at me, as you can see I got spillage right here. That's how I knew it was coming back at me. Put the cap back on, and that way it's full, and it's good to go then. So I pulled the drive shaft off of the Impala here, and I was looking at this U-joint because one of the caps fell off. And if you looked on the inside, there are no needle bearings left at all. It's just a pulverized mesh of grease and metal, and it even has a chip out of it right there that you can see. So this U-joint was well beyond the state of usableness, and I'm honestly surprised that didn't just fall apart on me, just because it's so far gone. So I'm working on taking the transmission out of here now, and what I've been finding so far, I've taken off the shifter linkage, and now I'm working on the brace bar here, and I'm shooting 50% on bolts that are hand tightened. So out of 6 or 8 that I've done, half of the bolts can be the nuts or bolts can be taken out by hand. The other half are mildly tight. So I was taking out the shifter here, And I can see that's the hole that they cut in the tunnel there to fit the shifter rod through. You can see those two holes right down there and that hole right there. That's what they bolted the shifter on with, except not in a normal manner. This looks like it's the tunnel out of an older car that was likely torched or cut out, and then just a couple holes drilled in and bolted to the tunnel of this car here. Just a little bit more of the redneck engineering that went on to get this car running how it was. So I'm draining the transmission pan here, trying to get it all into the pan, and as you can see I'm a pretty bad aim. Right now the way I got it set, by loosening and tightening a couple bolts and trying to control where it was draining from, I'm able to get about 75 to, right now I'm probably even getting maybe 90% of what's dripping out. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to let this drain until it stops, I guess, and hopefully I can get all of it in the pan here so that when I take the transmission out, I'll take all that extra liquid off so I don't have all that extra weight coming down on me. So something just kind of real quick interesting. So I was taking off the transmission cooler lines, which this is an add-on unit. It's an add-on transmission cooler. Is actually, kind of a cool afterthought to put something like this on there. But the way that it's held on, there's a couple of brackets that aren't connected to anything, and a bungee strap that was wrapped around that bolt there, and around the battery mount bolt down there. I had a heck of a time getting that off. So I mean, it was a well secured bungee strap. It wasn't going to come off, but that's pretty much all that was holding it on, was just that bungee strap. But I guess it stayed on, so it worked. So, taking off the transmission kickdown lever, that was already off now. But the way that the throttle here was set up, that's the full throw, the pedals on the floor right there. That's where it's at. So that's the full throw. And it's tough to show now. But there's that much extra play. So, right, the way it was set up, there may have only got to, let's say, 2/3 of the throttle. It was a full third of the throttle that wasn't even in play for them. So, I mean, when they put their foot to the floor, they weren't even really pushing the engine at all. So, I'm at the stage here. You can see I got the transmission sitting on the transmission jack here that came down. Getting there was kind of a pain. You can see the cross member there. I can't get it out over the exhaust or anything, but getting those mounting bolts on the bell housing off the engine there, they didn't really want to come off, but with persuasion they could come. But anyways, just the only issue I got left is that the transmission, the way it sits on the jack right there, that's all the way down, and well, I can't get it out with the car not being high enough. So I'm going to have to take the transmission off the jack before I take it out from under the car, but it is out, and so I'm at the stage here where I'm ready to start doing some work to get my T5 put in there.